Welcome to the stream, everyone. Today, we're just going to jump into it. Been a little while. The first question that I was trying to diagnose in the chat, which if you don't know, by the way, we chat before the show goes live for about an hour, and then we get questions answered, then we do the live show. So someone's got a big old Java fern, right? And they're wondering, the question was, can I cut it? And so I answered yes. And then they wondered if they were going to get two plants. And I thought, okay, we're getting into that wheelhouse of this is going to be easier to explain in video than it is in text. And that happens all the time with customer service stuff where you can't answer it with like a sentence. Then it's like, okay, well, clearly we got to do some more explaining here. And it's a good, refresher for a lot of people. So a rhizome plant, so Anubias, Java fern, Bulbitis, Bucephalandra, all of those, they grow on this long stalk that's a horizontal stalk. And then they got roots that come down, and they have leaves and flowers that go up, right? So we got this long stalk. Now, if we cut it and make two, we cut it just like that, we now will have two plants. Now, the question is, will those grow? And as long as we didn't really, harm the plant, yes, it will grow. Typically, they continue to grow in the same direction they were. So if we had a bud end here and new leaves coming out on this end, right? We now cut it. It's likely that this end will keep growing and this end would keep growing, and you would get two plants. So when you go to replant the second one, maybe don't just make a cut and put it next to the wall because it'll grow into the wall. You might want to go, okay, I'm going to turn this one and get it growing towards the back of my aquarium, or you put it into a different aquarium and just know that they grow in one direction until they hit something. Then they'll start going up the glass or around the rock or whatever it's going to be. And yes, you could, take that plant that's this long and you could chop it into fifths or tenths, or, do know that if you really create a lot of trauma, so you take a plant that's this long and you chop it 50 times, you probably will get some die off and it won't look very good and it takes a long time. These plants, maybe depending on the setup we have, might grow a leaf every 2 weeks, right? And so you can get growth a little bit faster if you do chop it up and get it going, but it still won't look right to the eye. So, doing maybe a rhizome that is at 6-8 inches long, maybe into thirds if you're really trying to make it go further, if you will. But do know that when you make that cut, there's going to be a little bit of lag time. It has to take the energy it had from going, okay, we're going to make new leaves to, we got to repair damage. So it's going to repair that damage first. Then it'll start making leaves again. So yeah, that's kind of, and it might use up more food for you as well. That's something that people don't think about is, if you had this big massive plant and it's catching all this light, absorbing all these nutrients, right? And it's making one leaf every 2 weeks. Well, the minute you cut it in half, it's now going to try to make two leaves in the 2 weeks, right? So it's going to be more demanding, but it's got half as much leaves to kind of catch that light, and it's going to want the same amount of fertilizer to make a new plantlet. So that's where it's not super easy. Just, chop it up and make 1,000 of them. You can run into CO2 limitations, lighting limitations. You can run into nutrients. All of that comes into play. So, but yes, you can definitely chop up rhizome plants and make more. It's not 100%, but it's more like 95, 90% you're going to be successful with something like that. All right. What am I going to talk about? I guess this is a new thing right here. Well, it's not new. It's, kind of new. So these are the liners that we use to ship plants. Now, this is a large one, right? And we've had them for about 5-6 months, but I haven't been able to show them because we were still shipping the old ones. The old ones weren't the green color. They were just silver with our logo, right? But these I think look amazing, and they're nice and big, and we have 2 different sizes that we ship out. So depending on how many plants you order and all of that, and how cold it is, where it's going, not every single plant will get one of these. If you order one moss ball, we don't need to put this giant liner together, right? We also made them better. It used to be that it was like a Ziploc bag. Now we have this zipper pouch at the top, right? That you can pull off, apparently. Now I gotta put that back on there. Oh no! I gotta come in from the side. There we go. Oh. That work now that I broke it? All right, fixed it. So and it holds air because it's tight, right? So why did I make these? Because we want to have the least amount of footprint we can when we're shipping stuff. Now, this isn't going to break down in your garden or anything like that very quick, so that's not great. But the styrofoam we were using before didn't do that either. And we got to keep the plants from freezing. So we tried to make something that's reusable. Now, what could you reuse this for? When you go to a fish store and you buy fish, you can keep them the right temperature by keeping them inside this thing, right? Oh, why is this so difficult on camera? I've done this, well, it's probably because I've worn this thing out playing with it a million times. All right, what's going on here? Oh, there's a meme in here somewhere. I know it. I don't know why I can't open this thing. I've done this 100 times. It's because this, because my little nub's not in between the two, so I've sealed this thing off forever. Not forever, I'll get it undone, but you can put your bags in there, seal it back up, they travel home. Now, you can also use this for frozen foods, bringing them from the store as well. You could take it to your grocery store if you're buying all the ice cream, the frozen Snickers and the frozen Reese's. Man. All right, well, trust me, if you don't break it like I just broke mine, they're reusable, and I guess I went a little too hard with the seal. The seal is like, I want this seal so it doesn't just, come apart. Maybe I can pull it apart here. There we go. Now if I get this thing installed correctly this time. There we go. Let's see. That opens, this should close. See, now we can do it. I fixed it. Open. And close. All right, so you put in stuff you want to keep hot or cold. It's a bag. It's got our logo all over it. Looks super cool. If we ever get to go to fish meetings and stuff again, you can spot someone down the road. You can find other uses for these, I'm sure. Maybe it's a lunchbox, but I want it to be reusable and not instantly like, throw it away, because this foil liner that keeps the heat in or out, we also use it during the summer, they're too bad on the environment to only be used once. So we're really hoping that, if you're ordering plants all the time, we do encourage you, order lots of plants at a time, not just one, right? Because that's wasteful in shipping and all that kind of stuff. And all these are free, by the way. Heat packs and this kind of stuff is always free. It's our job to get that plant to you in good condition. I know many of our competitors, oh, you didn't add a heat pack? No warranty claim. Oh, you didn't do this? Oh, you're out of luck. But we... even when you do order that one moss ball and we spend more in a heat pack in one of those than the moss ball, sometimes that's got to be that way. All right, we're going to dive in here. Got a couple of new members. Thank you very much. Tori Erpenbeck has a rad unicorny, owly, alien goblin-y thing as an avatar. It's kind of cool. I've got an open 29-gallon. What ideas you got, Corey? I don't know. I've been jonesing to purchase fish and set up fish tanks. It has now been, we're closing on 6 months since I've been able to do anything meaningful in my hobby. Got a 800-gallon in stasis. I've got another fish room being built, which we started plumbing drain lines, so we're getting a lot closer. And in a 29-gallon right now, what I would be doing is I would want to be doing shrimp. I'm really wanting to get back into, I really want some nice yellows, some nice oranges, some nice reds. So I'd get a big old colony of those going, and then I might just play with some crypts in there so it looked really nice. And then if I was still like, well, it's not enough, Corey, I would find something to go up on top. And for me, I'm really wanting to get back into more decorative stuff. So right now I breed a lot of stuff, and those shrimp would be breeding, but I might go with a massive school of green neon tetras or celestial pearl danios and just let the shrimp kind of do their thing and have it look good. I really miss that dynamic of like, I've got billions of shrimp and I love it. And I don't have that right now, so that's what I'm looking for. Relevant story. I ordered pink flamingos and it took 30 days for them to be delivered. Whoa. Not only did they survive, but they're growing like mad. Awesome shipping procedures for the plants. Yeah, so that's something plants in general can usually go a very long time in shipping if packed correctly. Now that means they can't freeze solid and they can't get way too hot. If you can keep it in between those two, you know, plants outside, think about it in your house or at your house outside, right? Plants die back when they freeze, or if you go through a drought and there's no water and it's way too hot, right? So if we keep it in that wide window during the shipping process, they typically do okay. Yeah, they're not getting light, but they can usually handle that. Now, there are some that don't bounce back, and we take care of that. But, you know, just know, in general, you got a wide budget, and unfortunately, some customers, if there's like a two-day delay, they'll, you know, kind of like, oh, there's no way they're going to make it. And it's like, oh, geez, like, how do we convince, not even convince, how do we educate the hobby that most species of plants can take weeks in transit and still pull through? Now, I totally get the argument of, I didn't buy a plant to have to pull it through. You're right. And we do not strive for that. That's why we put so much into it, so that when things do go wrong, you've got a great foundation to still build from. I always, you know, try to educate people. You're mostly buying roots. Yeah, you get foliage and stuff, but if you got nice roots, you're going to get that plant coming back really strong and nice. And we do what we can to make sure you don't have that. You know, if we could choose how we do it, everything would arrive in 3 days like it's supposed to, because we pay for that. But, you know, with so many people shopping online and all the postal service, not even just USPS, FedEx, all that, they're all overwhelmed. If it wasn't overwhelmed, that's how it's gone for years, and we've done great. And now we're testing the limits of like, ooh. So basically what it means to us is it costs us a lot more, because we now tweak our algorithms. We actually built a custom algorithm to detect what's the temperature, what long window do we think. It used to be we'd track it on 2 to 3 days. Now it's more like 4 or 5. We average temperatures. We look at highs and lows on the days, how far away you are, how much we think there's going to be a delay. We make recommendations, heat packs, liners, all of that. We find that the longer it's going to be in shipping, the better it is to like not use a heat pack if we can, so it doesn't like get hot and then crash down. Instead, just kind of let it be cool. It kind of, the plant just kind of goes into this dormant mode while it's shipping. So, you know, still learning and perfecting day by day to hopefully, even in a 30-day delay situation, have a good plant arrive. Now, I'm sure there's people in the chat right now like, I had to arrive in 2 days and it was crap. That happens too. Like, we ship so many, I mean, at this point, tens of thousands of plants, maybe not weekly, but monthly for sure, that there's going to be just some lame ducks of like, geez, that one, yeah, we didn't see that it was beat up before, or it had some stem damage, and we'll just take care of you. Enough of that sales ad right there. I'm Aqua. Thanks for the contribution you made to the hobby. Well, thanks for $20, and thanks to the new members. I hate reading those, by the way. I just click on it, I read it, and I'm like, oh, now I'm reading self, you know, like, good job, Corey. And I get it. Like, I congratulate others and stuff like that. I just try not to waste, you know, podcast listeners' time and stuff like that, and anyone that doesn't want to hear about that. Am I able to put 2 or 3 dwarf pufferfish in a 10-gallon? I live by the rule of kind of 1 every 3 gallons or so, especially if you had like a boy and 2 girls. I think your 10-gallon would work out pretty good. There's never any guarantees, but you've got a solid foundation there, I think, to get yourself a little colony of pea puffers that are going to be super sweet. Do I think you can fit 2 fancy goldfish, a Ryukin and an Oranda, in a 36-gallon tank? Yes, I think you could probably get about 2 years of good quality life out of those fish in a 36-gallon tank, and then after that, you would be really becoming a slave to the water changes to keep up water quality, and they're probably going to be like, oof, those things are pretty big for that aquarium. Especially if you start getting a boy and a girl, the girl won't be really to escape, and if you had a third one, that'll help split his attention. So, but especially when you're new to the hobby, 2 years is an eternity. Like, wow, I got forever to do something else. And I would say, yes, there's still, you could run into illness you don't know how to treat yet. You could just run into, you know, all these things. So I would say you've got a foundation there that'll, you know, word of the day's foundation, by the way, apparently, that'll get you at least a couple years. Now, the goldfish police would be like, how dare you? That being said, the goldfish police are used to going, well, I keep goldfish and I keep them in 10,000-gallon aquariums and they live to be 400 years old. Meanwhile, millions of goldfish are sold, and a lot of times they don't make it, they dang near don't make it home. Like, they die at the wholesaler or the pet store. So I think there's a happy medium here, and if you were to take care of a pet really well for 2 years, knowing that you're going to upgrade, you know, maybe you get a dog and you walk it twice a day, every day, it's loving life, and then eventually you go and you buy a farmhouse and it's an even better home, that's a good situation, right? All right, dokie. Another $20 from JR Cyberpastor. Well, thank you very much. What are my experience with Planaria and shrimp tanks? Is Planaria really bad for shrimp? And if so, why? So I don't believe that they are, how do I say this eloquently? Because it's the way it was going to come out of my mouth is like, that's going to sound dumb. I don't think they are a big threat to shrimp. So I definitely have had lots of shrimp tanks. And I've definitely had lots of Planaria before. And in fact, sometimes I was growing Planaria intentionally to test medications that would kill Planaria but not kill shrimp, right? I also know that Chris Luca has pictures of Planaria that turn the color of the shrimp that they're in the tank with. So if you have cherry shrimp, they'll be red. If you have blue velvets, they'll be blue, right? So not scientifically, but as scientifically as we can get, that proves that they must be eating some babies to get that coloration, we assume, right? For all we know, though, they're eating a molt, but maybe the molt doesn't carry the color. But shrimp experts kind of agree that Planaria will eat some shrimp. Now, I look at this like I look at maybe cars. There are cars that will get, like, let's say a Tesla. Well, I don't know, that might be the wrong answer. But let's pick a car, and it gets 50 miles to the gallon, right? Why, if we were going for maximum efficiency, like we typically do in our hobby, like I have to make the most cherry shrimp, they have to be the healthiest possible and all of that. If we transfer that over to cars, why would there be any other cars that couldn't do at least that? Oh, because we have preferences, right? We might want a truck or a van, or we want to invest less money, or we're really a bad driver and we get in a wreck a lot, and that 50 mile per gallon car costs too much. I think that's how we are with shrimp. So maybe you got 100 cherry shrimp living in your 55-gallon aquarium, and you got 10,000 Planaria, right? And because of those 10,000 Planariids, you, in a year, will go from, the 500 shrimp you got, or 100, or whatever I said, right? So we'll just say 500. And a year later, you'll have 700. And if you had no Planaria at all, right, you would have had 500, and you would go to 1,000. So you're going, well, I'm down 300 shrimp. Like, that sounds like it's a horrible big problem. The other way to tackle it would be if you took your 500 shrimp, sold off 250, right? You sell off 250. In a year, you're going to be back to like 700 anyway. So now you've made the same amount of shrimp as the other guy or girl that, insists on, like, gotta get rid of the Planaria, gotta get rid of the Planaria, gotta get rid of the Planaria. But with a whole lot more work on their part. So I have always had colonies of shrimp. Planaria would come and go based on how heavy I was feeding or not feeding. And then I would always sell shrimp. Now, you can see things like a monoshrimp. A monoshrimp will eat Planaria. A monoshrimp will also eat cherry shrimp babies, right? Fish will eat cherry shrimp babies. I keep all of that stuff together because I want to have a good experience for me. I want it to be visually pleasing. I want to diversify what I keep in my tanks. And most times, I don't need to make extra shrimp. I can already make more than I can sell to my local fish store, right? Now, I'm in a unique situation where I own a store, and yes, if I make 1 billion shrimp, we can basically sell 1 billion shrimp. But back before I owned a store, I could make more shrimp than the local store I worked for could sell. And therefore, I didn't need to make more and more and more. And in fact, for like cherry shrimp, so often you get them going in 5, 6, 7, 10 tanks, you have tons of shrimp, way too many. And the other thing I would say is, instead of specializing in getting rid of Planaria and maximizing what comes out, I'm a big fan of maximizing the quality that comes out. So working with smaller groups of fish, fish too, but shrimp, if you had 500 shrimp, it's really hard to make sure every 500 of them are really high quality and that the ones that aren't high quality aren't breeding with the other ones. But if you have 80 shrimp and you make sure they're all very high quality and the males and the females are looking great, they're getting good coverage and all of that, all the traits that you want, because maybe you're working on something different, your fry that come out of those shrimplets and everything are going to be a much higher quality, and usually will command more money, and just your line will be better. So when I was, worried about how many shrimp could I make, my method was to have basically 240 breeders, pick 2 tanks basically, and I would get a colony. I would probably buy it on Aquabit or something like that. I would get my seed colony and I would breed it up, right? So now I went from 30 to I have over 100 easy. They're everywhere, right? Then what I would do is I would take the 30 best, knowing that I have to get males and females. Females are always going to look bigger, brighter, better than the males. If you only take the females, you won't make any more, right? But I took the 30 best, maybe 20 females, 10 males, put them in the new tank. Not new, like it's not new setup, but like the one that didn't have shrimp. Usually my method was I keep fish in it, so it'd be all poopy and everything and fully cycled, easy to catch fish out, right? And then I would move the 30 shrimp into there and let them start their own new colony. So now I might have 100 left up above, I've got 30 down below, and now I'm selling the ones up above the old tank to the local store or Craigslist or whatever, getting my money back for them. When I run out, by the time I've done that, now the population down low has finished breeding out, right? I can take the 30 best from those, move them to the other tank, right? And now I sell these ones. And so you're constantly, every 3 months or so, you're picking the best 30 shrimp you have. And over time, over years, they start getting really, really good because you're taking out, the weaker gene pools. Now, people worry like, aren't they going to be really inbred? Shrimp are already crazy inbred, and you can cross in lines and things like that. When you get to that point, most people, they never even get close to that problem, and they start trying to fix a problem they don't have yet. So that's how I would approach breeding shrimp for profit. Am I worried about Planaria? No, I'm not. I can always make like just way too many shrimp. If you were literally a facility that made shrimp, I got a whole warehouse making shrimp, would I try to be Planaria free? Yes, because that comes down to employee time, profit margins, all of that. As a home hobbyist, I think effort into money back out, it's not worth it to chase that down. All right. Does anyone know of an auto feeder that can be set for once every 48 hours instead of daily? Let me do my brain thinking here. Yes, I do. Wait, is that true? I know of a way to do it. I can tell you how I would do this. They make feeders that they plug into an actual power source. They're like over $100 for the ones that I've used in the past, like the one on the 800 gallon. Now, they only run when you use a timer. So do I have any here? Yeah. By the way, I'm starting a new segment. I'm just gonna answer a question, but I'm gonna start this new segment and just get you guys ready for it. Instead of long term, what we're gonna do is instead of serving ads in the middle of videos, I'm just gonna do my own ads. So kind of Philip DeFranco style. I think he did it well in the way he does it. Basically, I'm gonna answer this question, but it's gonna be an advertisement, but it'll be useful knowledge, right? So, go into spiel. Now we gotta pay some bills. So the Casa Wi-Fi timer. We carry these. I absolutely love these. And in fact, I'm switching the 800 gallon from the Fluval app to the Casa TP-Link. Why can't I think of the name of this? Wi-Fi plug, basically. Now, when you have a feeder that you can plug in, I can schedule in the app, which has got a great app for this. I could have it feed every other day, different times every day, all of that. It allows me the flexibility. And then, let's see if I can show you guys here. In my app, I've got tons. You can't you see it? Well, focus, get rid of my face. So I've got fish room lights. I've got even the camera. Even the camera we're using right now is on one of these. And all the fish room lights are. Now what I like is you can program them to be in the same thing. So I can turn every light in my fish room on at the new studio, because I'm not even there, with the push of a button. So right now I have fish farm lights. I just turned them all off. So if anyone's in there, they're going, oh no, I just turned them all back on. Now, not only do I have them all off, or all on now, but they will still, no matter what I push, they will still go off at the same time and come on at the same time, right? And so that's really nice. You can also just hit a button here. Like let's say you want it every 48 hours while you're on vacation. But then the day before you go, you're like, you know what? I want to feed them today just to make sure they're going to do it. You could just click the button. It would do it. You can also do it for your phone. Just click the button. It'll do it. And you can see right here. In fact, like this should show that this isn't just like a made up thing. Right here, it actually says 800-gallon feeder, right? Let's see. Hide my face. 800-gallon feeder. It was set to go on for 1 minute. It would turn the feeder on, and then it would go off. So I would have it go on at 4:31, right? That would be before I was done live streaming. It would feed the fish. Everyone would be like, look, the fish are eating. And then it would turn off, and it would just do that. And that's how I ran it. So that's how I would do it. I would find a feeder that you like to use that can be plugged in all the time, hook it up with something as simple as this. Doesn't have to be this one. I just really like these ones, and I've tested a lot. And Dean uses them. I use them. Pretty much all of us around here are using them in our fish rooms because they're super reliable, and the app is awesome. You can connect their cameras to it, light switches, all kinds of stuff. We don't sell the cameras and light switches and all that, just these, but they're amazing for lighting and fish feeders and dosers. So that's my sales pitch. Go buy some from us, and then we don't have to put ads. Not that we have to anyway, but we need to make money somehow. Okie doke. For candy if you can. I saw the $500 Kitty Tropical. Love your support of the hobby. What chambers do I recommend for a sump? So officially, and this is going to sound like a cop-out, I don't believe I can just give that money to Candy. Like one, there's some taxes there and there's fees and that kind of stuff. But two, that could be favoritism. I would have to change Candy's position to more of a sales position to compensate that way without showing favoritism. Nevertheless, I will be sure to take care of Candy. She does a wonderful job, and I thank you for that. What chambers do I recommend for a sump? So I basically want maybe 3 sections. My main goal, trap waste. So is it fish leaves, fish poop, fish food, baby fish, whatever it is. And the one that enters the sump. And for those of you that don't know, a sump is basically an aquarium underneath your main aquarium that you would run all your filters on. The 800-gallon has a sump. Can I make that? Yeah, I might be able to. I haven't cleaned this sump in months. So I've got a sump down here. You can't really see it very well, but the first chamber, water comes in, and I have my heaters, which I haven't been plugged in a very long time. Then I've got mechanical filtration, trap the fish poop, the leaves, anything like that. Then I have biological. I'm using bio rings. I love bio balls also. And then the last chamber I have is actually where the pump sits to pump the water back up. Now, what's nice when you have a sump is you can hide your heaters in there. You can put air stones in there if you don't want them up in the display. You can do any of that. And it hides away down low and gets the equipment. So mostly all we see in here, right, for the most part, we see the one overflow. That's where the water actually comes down to here. But everything else you don't see. That's the beauty of it. It also adds water volume. So we have an 800-gallon aquarium here, but we have a 6-foot sump and a 4-foot sump. We actually have 200 gallons of water down there. So it's actually 1,000 gallons of water here. But it remains, it's a more stable system. Which is nice. It holds temperature and all that. And then also if you have a big sump, which I do, but I don't build this in because I have a fish room. But if you were limited on tanks, you can save one of the chambers for maybe adding new fish, or if you had aggressive fish that got beat up, you could put that down there and let them recuperate before putting them back in the main display. So, but I look at it, basically you have a mechanical chamber. How am I going to filter out debris? You have a biological. How am I going to convert ammonia and that kind of stuff into something not toxic? And then you have chambers for equipment, basically. And I put the heater right at the beginning. It could just as easily be at the end. You know, you don't have to separate it out. It just happens to be that's the way this one was laid out, and we had tons of room, so it didn't matter for us. What do you think about $325 $24 goldfish. I pretty much found a website to sell most expensive goldfish. I have spent more than that on goldfish. I personally don't have a problem with spending big money on fish. Now, it's not like, oh, it must be nice to be rich, Corey, or anything like that. It's that in my life, I spend so much time with fish, right? So the way I like to do it is I don't drink coffee, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, anything like that. But let's say I did drink. And just every Saturday night I went out with friends and I spent $40, $30, I don't know, $30 with friends, had a great time, let's say. Every month that's $120, right? Let's say I didn't do that for 3 months, right? It's $360 that I have saved. I could now buy a goldfish that might live with me for the next 10 years that I look at every single day, and the amount of enjoyment I get out of it might be huge, way more than maybe what I was going out with buddies and drinking or meeting someone at a coffee shop or whatever it is. So I actually believe that fish are one of the cheapest forms of entertainment we have in our lives, or pets even, not even just fish, like a dog. I have 3 dogs, they're all rescues, and even if they all cost me $10,000 each, right? So you're going, $30,000 in dogs, that is crazy. Well, my dogs are small, and one of them's like going on 17 at this point. You know, so let's just say they all live 10 years, right? That's 10 years of my life. If you average that out, I'm going to do the math. I'm going to do the math now. So let's say 3 dogs. We've got 10 years, 365 days, so 10 times 365. That's 3,650 days, right? And we said they're going to cost $30,000, which my dogs didn't. That's an extreme thing, but we're factoring in food and medical care, all of that, right? Divided by 3,650. That's about $8.21 a day for 3 dogs, you know, and my wife and I both enjoy them equally. So you could maybe only keep 1 dog, right? And 1 dog will cost you about $3 a day. That's less than if you went to Starbucks every day. And so that's why I have no problem. Even when you're like, oh man, the dog had a broken leg, cost $2,000. It was crazy. It's still cheaper than a lot of the stuff we do every day. And not everyone has that money. I get that. Like, owning pets is a luxury item. Just like going to Starbucks or going out to drink once a week, or, you know, maybe the movies once a week, whatever it is. And so I don't look down upon anyone that's spending a ton of money on fish, so long as they're financially solvent, you know? And maybe someone likes to go do whatever they like to do. Maybe it's shoot guns, RC cars, boating, doesn't matter. What's your hobby? You might spend a ton of money over there. It looks weird over here because it's not as common, right? And I think when you think about it like that, so like $325 goldfish, you are crazy. But we don't necessarily think of someone with a latte in their hand like that person's straight up crazy. They're buying $324 goldfish, right? So I think it's all perspective. And a lot of people do both. And some people can't control what they're spending money on and all of that. And you probably shouldn't buy 10 goldfish that are $300 a piece on a credit card. Like there's things you shouldn't do, right? Just like you shouldn't probably go into debt to drink Starbucks or something like that. But that's everyone's own decision. So I don't think that's crazy. Now, could that website be, oh, that fish isn't worth that? Could be. It could be that a cup of coffee is not worth $9. Maybe it's only worth $1. Or maybe it's worth $30. It depends on who puts the value on it, right? Like, sometimes you get better value. Like, maybe you feel better because you have a $324 goldfish. We, myself and my wife, feel better when we rescue a dog. It doesn't mean the dog is better than a professionally bred dog, or, you know, your friend had puppies. Doesn't mean it's better. It's just we get value out of knowing this is one less dog that kind of has to find a home. We can do our own, right? So it's important, I think, to get the value out of it. Do we carry Discus? We do. We do carry Discus. I don't know if we have any right in stock right now, but it is a fish that we keep. Last time I did a tour, we had them. We can usually get some, but we don't really do the special ordering thing because everyone's like, I need a leopard spotted, lightning struck, female Turk that came from Germany, but it can't be more than $17. Like there's so many strains of Discus, and people, every time we've ever ordered them, they're like, it's not really the right size, or, you know, some reason I'm not going to commit to it now. So we kind of just bring in an assortment, and people can pick and choose, because a lot of times people want Discus, but they actually don't know what they want. And so having assortments like, look, you can get these, they're healthy, they're ready to go. If you're really going to hunt something down, go to something like Forest Discus or something like that, start spending, you know, a few $100s plus shipping and get exactly what you want. That's usually a different clientele. Most people are just like, I just want some Discus to kind of learn with. And when you get going, you know, Dean will be bringing in probably some wild caught soon. He's got more breeding, and we go through, you know, spurts, but local bred ones usually do well for people. How can I heal a wounded betta's face? He scraped it badly on a rock and is missing many scales and is an open wound. I personally would, you know, if you don't have too many plants, I would go with salt. Salt is a miracle. If you had a ton of plants and that's not going to work, and you don't have another tank to put it in where you could use salt, I would use Maricin, which is an antibiotic. Now, keep in mind, I'm recommending salt. That's the cheaper and better method. But erythromycin, which is Maricin, will work really well also, but it's more expensive. And like for me, I'll usually have both on hand. And so if it doesn't have salt, or if it doesn't have plants in the tank, I'll hit it with salt. If it does, I'll hit it with the erythromycin, which is just Maricin, and it'll usually fix it. Now you want to make sure that the water's in good quality and the stress factors are gone. You know, if it was running away from a fish chasing it, you don't want to leave that fish there to chase it, right? Because it's going to damage itself again. So good quality foods, all of that, all the normal stuff you would do, like, oh, someone's hurt, let's let them rest, let's make sure they're well fed, let's make sure that it doesn't get infected. All of those things would apply to, you know, maybe your dog or a person that lives in your home. You apply to that fish also. You know, if Junior is chasing grandma nonstop and she fell and broke her hip, you stop Junior from doing that when she's trying to heal up, right? Can you help me out big time today? I wish I support the co-op even more. I wish I could buy my groceries there too. Well, you know, all we try to ask is, if you have a legitimate need, I need this item, you need some dechlorinator, right? If you have the option of buying it from us or buying it from Amazon or someone else, when you buy it from us, that does tip the scale towards the next thing we're going to do, the next item we're going to release, the next video we're going to put out. All of that goes back into the Commonwealth pool, people's wages, all of that. So, you know, I do, but we all appreciate whenever you guys choose and make a dedicated decision to support us. Okie dokie. What's my favorite American cichlid from aquarium fish enthusiasts? I am so weak when it comes to Central and South American cichlids. I would probably say, like, what do I really like? Because I'm not a big fan of those areas of fish, because they get kind of big and for the most part a little brutish. If I was gonna pick something, like if I was gonna stock the 800 gallon with Central and South American cichlids right now, I would probably start with some really nice convicts. I don't know if I would just go with normals. I've been intrigued by the ice blue convicts lately. Not that I'm gonna get some. I really like the marbles, that kind of stuff, but you know, I just too many of them. I'm not a fan. Like, I could do a dova, I could do, you know, black nasty, but the aggressive fish. That's the thing. What is technically Nicaraguanese? Maybe I would do that, but that might be a Madagascaran cichlid. I don't know. All right. Co-op needs to get international opened up, UK to support. We're trying. You know, I've got Randy actively tasked with, we learned there might be some decent shipping down to Mexico. We're looking into that as well. We continually look for how can we, and to be fair, this is exactly how we look at it. This is going to sound like a sales pitch, right? We look at how can we help other countries with our products, because it's not profitable. Like, that's the problem. It's like, we can't go like, you know how much money we'll make? Because if I look at how much money we make, it never makes sense to go outside of the United States. It just doesn't. So it's got to be, ooh, we could help this you know, and it's obviously it's us thinking we can help, right? We could be doing damage, but we look at it as we could help. And so we're trying to figure out, we can't do it at a loss, obviously, but we're trying. When is shipping to Canada going to be a thing? When when the world returns to normal. Right now, like, this is a legitimate statement I'm about to make. We keep selling out of Easy Green on Amazon Canada. The max they will let us send is 234 bottles. They limit how many we can send because their warehouses are overstuffed. 234 bottles lasts us about 3 weeks. It takes longer than 3 weeks to get stuff in, and they won't let us send more until we sell out. So we're being throttled by that. We're getting quotes from FedEx, DHL, USPS, UPS, all of it, right? They're all swamped, right? So think about that. They're all overwhelmed right now. And then we're going, well, we want to ship more. We want to ship to Canada. We want to ship to Australia. We want to ship to Mexico. We want to ship to the UK. What rates are we looking at? And legit, like, one of the rates we got back, it was about 2 weeks ago now, to ship a 2-pound package into Canada was $38, right? So if you wanted, let's say, this and this, I now have to charge you $38 shipping. Not Canadian dollars, US dollars. And then you just have to pay, like, duties. So that's where it's like, that's a no-go. No one's going to want to spend, you know, by the time you bought both these products, right? You're going to spend $60 to get these? That's crazy talk. So we got to keep working with it and figuring it out, and we're working on it. And I don't think there's a quick answer here. I'd love to tell you, and I also think it would be bad for our company if we launch stuff that's too high. Already, every day, people complain, $35 for Easy Green's too much in Canada. Meanwhile, we look at it the same way, going, we're not making any money. By the time I pay employees and all that to get it up there, we're lucky if we break $1. Like, if we make $1, that means no shipments went wrong with Amazon, none got lost, none got returned, all of that. We're lucky to make $1. So that's where it's like, there's no leeway. It's not like, oh, $35, counting the fat stacks we make off of Amazon Canada. Nope. But it doesn't get any cheaper shipping it ourselves yet. We're trying. Trust me, we're trying real hard. And someday we're going to punch through the hole. I just don't know when. Stocking ideas for a 55-gallon with only bristlenose plecos. Something to help keep the guppy population down? Wait, what? See that? If you only have bristlenose plecos, why do you need to keep guppy population down? So it must be, I'm going to take this question as though it has bristlenose and it has guppies. What would I do? I might add something like maybe some Bolivian rams. I might do some Corridoras too. Corridoras, believe it or not, will chow down some guppy fry, which is kind of a nice thing, honestly. What else would I do? Maybe some up top. You could do, like, I think something big enough that'll chew down some fry, but not so much that, you know, like a zebra Daniel might run the guppies rabid, or not rabid, but ragged. What could you do? You might be able to get away with something like some killies, by the way. Like, you know, maybe some gardener eye killies. If you have big, robust guppies, they're definitely going to eat some guppies, but they would look really good. Is it safe to order plants online if shipping takes a week or more? Well, you could watch a longer explanation at the beginning. I would say this. If they're packed really, really well, yes. If they're not, it's hit or miss. That's the most polite way I can say. We do a lot to make sure that a 1 week or more should be fine. That being said, I believe, and Candy will be able to quote this, I believe we have it set so it's either 7 or 10 days after we ship. If you email us and are like, hey, my plants haven't arrived, we just automatically reship. Even if the plants are going to arrive well, it's now past the window, and we just want to make sure people are happy. Sometimes it works out really well and people get double plants. Sometimes people still aren't happy. It's, you know, their brother's birthday and the tank had to be perfect and they didn't arrive on time and blah, blah, blah. But I believe that's our current policy. Dry goods are longer, right? Dry goods, like, there's no expiration date on them. But that was a polite way of me saying, if you order from us, you're going to get taken care of. High chance they're going to do well. When we analyze, and we do analyze competitors, we order stuff and go, oh, that's how they're packing. Like we know that. We've run those tests. We know that doesn't work well. You get results. And so, I would say that that's part of our business plan here, is that a plant, it might go, like, you might have a plant on websites, right? And you can find it for $3 all the way to $13. And maybe Aquarium Co-op is $8 or $9, right? But we're always going to ship it quick. We're going to make it painless to get a refund or a reshipment. The heat pack is going to be free. A lot of websites, they're anywhere from $2.50 to $4 each, right? We're going to have the liners. Those are going to be free, right? We've put out lots of education to help you. We're going to answer customer service quickly. And so we're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive, but we can't, we could definitely, trust me, we have the buying power to be the cheapest. You would also hate us as a company. We're like, we shipped it out, it's $3. We only made 50 cents. It didn't show up? That's on you. Sorry. When things don't show up, what a company is supposed to do is just say, like, contact USPS, good luck with that, right? But we don't. We make it easy and we go, ooh, okay, well, we're going to ship out another one. We're just going to bite the bullet, take a beating on this, and hopefully over our relationship over a long time, that's not a problem. Like, oh, you lost one shipment, you order from us 20 times over the course of the next 10 years, and it's not a negative thing. And a lot of times what's good is when stuff does arrive, like, oh, it did arrive a day or two later, people have been willing to pay for it, or they ship it back, which is nice. We enter it as, like, really we're trying to sell to friends and colleagues. That's our goal. And it's not so much business and customer and that relationship, right? It's more like, oh, that doesn't sound very fair. We better make that right. It's more of that. And we hope, because we can't force, we hope from the same thing from the other end of, like, well, they did say if I could wait one more day, then they'd ship it out. Maybe I'll wait one more day, instead of, like, having a meltdown in email. Like, I shouldn't have to wait one more day. Like, well, it's Christmas, guy. Do I like blood parrots? I really want to put one with my school of rummy nose. I do like blood parrots. In fact, I was looking through some footage. I used to have blood parrots in the tank behind me, and I kind of miss them. I'm setting up a 15 by 15 by 15 cube for a betta. No luck with your water sprite or Val, and 2 of 4 dwarf lilies never sprouted. Only 1 sent up runners in a high nitrate 75 gallon. Plant suggestions. Well, my suggestion would be look into water parameters. Like, we're just talking about odds here, right? So if we looked at this in a different light, because obviously we look bad right now, right? Well, let's say you take the names of these plants and you change it to something else, right? So let's say you went to a Home Depot and you're like, I bought pothos, lucky bamboo, a peace lily, and a spider plant, and only the spider plant didn't die. Most people would be like, huh, those are all really easy plants. I'm not sure I can suggest other plants that are gonna thrive when you have easy plants that aren't thriving. So I kind of spin it back and I go, okay, well, I think what we need to work on here is, so you've got high nitrates, right? High nitrates, on one hand, is a good thing if plants are consuming lots of nitrogen and you have all the other elements, right? But high nitrates missing the other elements is actually detrimental to plants. So I would say, let's focus on making sure water parameters are good, meaning pH and temperature in the right zones, right? Let's make sure that high nitrates, it's from maybe Easy Green or another fertilizer that is kind of a comprehensive. So you're gonna have enough phosphate, right? You're gonna have enough potassium, you're gonna have all the micronutrients and not just tons of fish poop that is mostly nitrogen. And then let's make sure that we were feeding in the right ways, right? So you have Val, and we have dwarf lilies, and we had water sprite. So the Val really is gonna want something like root tabs. It's gonna want a lot of mulm, so fish poop, maybe root tabs, stuff like that in the substrate, because it gets most of it in the substrate. It will take it from the water column as well, but Val will struggle usually. Like when I plant Val, it typically takes 2 months before it thrives because it's got to get a lot of runners and a lot of footholds to really start taking in nutrients. Dwarf aquarium lilies, 2 of 4 never sprouted. That's actually kind of a common thing. Because they're bulbs, you can't guarantee they all sprout. That's also why we will replace them if they don't. But make sure you're flipping them, right? If you put them upside down, they typically don't hatch, if you will. And then, water sprite, it's a fairly easy plant, but I don't know the setup, right? Did we say anything about light there? Nothing about light quite, but, maybe you got way too much light or not enough light. It's hard to know. But with a 15-gallon cube, we should be able to get something going on if you don't have crazy high pH or, something weird there. Like, these plants are very easy plants. And so what I don't want to do is I don't want to make recommendations. You buy them and then they die, and then it's either, and I'm not saying you would say this because you're obviously super chatting here, which is like you're giving more money. So it's not a matter of that or anything. But I don't want the poor customer experience of like, I tried more plants and they died. So it's either Aquarium Co-op plants are bad or they don't know what they're talking about. And I also don't want to put all the blame like it's clearly his aquarium. That's not necessarily true either. There's a difference between what's going on in the tank and the plants thriving. And usually what we find, it's one, like, oh, if we just tweak that one thing, it's gonna be good. And it can take 10, 15 emails for like, oh wait, you weren't doing that? Oh, well, that's gonna, and it could be you ordered them all and they melted because they got too hot or something, or, it could be the worst luck in the world, by the way. That does happen. And that's something I forget to factor in, is that if we, at this point we ship like, well, this month might be like 15,000 orders, right? So it's like 500 orders a day. Every once in a while, there's gonna be like that statistical thing of like, all those plants, like, okay, maybe the valve or the water sprite was damaged. Maybe the valve like just failed to thrive somehow. And then, the lily bulbs 2 out of 4, just you got a bad run on there, and everything on your end is perfect. And if we just reship, it would work. So, but when it comes to suggestions like that, and I know it's getting long-winded here, if we know more about your setup, it makes it easier, which I don't know if I'll see it in the chat, but you could email us. Like, I really love Cryptocorynes. I love crypts a lot. They typically melt when you get them, but once they're in your tank, they just thrive for a very long time as long as you give them root tabs. So I really, really like crypts, which you haven't tried any of those yet. And they typically do well in the waters that bettas do well in also. So hopefully that, while confusing and probably seems like playing defense, I also wanted to make sure it wasn't just like, you should spend more money and buy 10 more plants with us, and then we just get more money from you. I actually want to try and diagnose where is it going wrong, because I always want to see someone who's not doing well with plants become the next plant like enthusiast, where they're like telling the next person, like, it's amazing once you learn the thing. And I'm that person. Houseplants, I'm terrible. I never remember to water them. If I found the right gadget that auto waters, and we're like my wife, she's amazing at that. So she does all the houseplants and they're thriving and she does a great job. I do great with underwater plants because I don't have to water them. So, yeah. 55-gallon low-tech tank with lots of filtration, 12 flame tetras, 11 Kuhlis. How many angels should I get? I would get 3, which people are right now going, they're a schooling fish, how dare you? I would get 3, hopefully a male and 2 females. I would be careful with a lot of filtration. I'm not a fan of lots of filtration. That sometimes leads to lots of flow, which means lots of stress. But so long as it's gentle, most tanks, rarely do I ever see a tank that doesn't have enough filtration to actually handle waste. A lot of times it's like, we just need more. We need more. More is better. And that's true sometimes. But a lot of times, like, well, your money is better spent on higher quality food, for instance. Couple of new members, well, more than just 2, but thank you to everyone who is becoming members. What aquarium test equipment do I recommend besides the 5-in-1 strips and ammonia strips? Test equipment. Okay. I do think everyone should have access to a master test kit, like a liquid kit. Now, you don't need to own one, but if your local store will do it, because I always want to make sure, like, test strips typically, they're good until they're not good. And what does that mean? That means, oh, I left the top off of them overnight. They got a little bit exposed to moisture, so they're not as accurate. You always want a second opinion somehow. Master test kits aren't the cheapest. They're certainly a pain to use and long, but access to that. I would say, whether you got to own one, your buddy's got to own one, the fish store will test it for you. I like to have a second way to do that. And then as far as testing equipment goes, I like a really good thermometer. Something that to be accurate. I don't care what form it is. I don't care if it's a laser. I don't care if it's a meat thermometer. It doesn't really matter to me. But a thermometer goes a long, long way to knowing, oh, am I too hot? Am I too cold? Why did I get it? What's going on? And those are the main things I use all the time. Even when I'm refilling water, there's certain things you got to know. Basically, you got to know, how is the water? If you know that, most other things don't really matter. So, but pick what works for you. Some people go, I got a routine. I love the liquid test kits. Great. I'm not here to change it. But for me personally, it's a lot of visual looking, mastering, looking for illnesses and looking for equipment that might fail, and then just testing. That's all you got to do. Wow. Super chats are really pouring in. So I just want to say, I'm going to try to get to these. I also want to say, I totally recognize the people that aren't paying that want their questions answered as well. This is why sometimes I have super chats on and sometimes they're not on. And to me, I honestly don't care whether I answer a question that someone paid for or not. But what I do know is if I don't answer questions people pay for, a lot of times people get pretty angry. And I don't like making anyone angry. So I'm going to work these in and do my best. I'm already feeling the guilt of like, oh, geez, people are going to be like, oh, I see. If you don't pay money, you don't get your question answered. And then it basically puts me in a funk for a few days of like, I'm just a guy trying to help. Why is it anything I do is wrong? So please bear with me. And thank you to everyone that does super chat and those who just listen. See, it already sounds like I'm downplaying it, but those are listening on the podcast and those that are watching later and all of that, you're all equal. And I know it won't seem like that. I want to get guppies from you guys for a 40 to do a planted tank with driftwood, but I don't want to put no dirt or soil. Can it be done? Yes, Brian Cook. You definitely could have a very beautiful planted tank. Not that this is an example of one right now, but this does have live plants aplenty, and there is no dirt. I do use some root tabs. I do that. And I use some liquid fertilizers. Actually, not right now. But you could definitely accomplish that. You would want to think about maybe some Cryptocorynes, some Anubiases, some Java ferns. In fact, you could look at a lot of George Farmer's aquascapes. He does a lot with those hardy, simple plants. They look absolutely amazing, but very easy to take care of. And that's, I think, is a good thing. Like, I want that. I want easy plants. I want easy fish. The easier it is, the more I get to enjoy it. When it's super hard, it is rewarding when you win. You beat it or whatever, but it's also a lot of work. Checking in to make sure, store, the warehouse, something's not burning down. All right, we're good. We're good. Whew. Whew. My wife says 1.8K people watching. Is that a true thing? Let me see. 1720. Not bad at all. Make sure you share. Make sure you set up the iPad for your grandma. She's going to enjoy the soothing voice. I'll put her right to sleep. Let's see. My wife also said we should mention where we ship from. That's a good point. So our business is located in Washington State, which is the top left corner of the United States, which means we are at the biggest disadvantage of any of the fish sell or any of the aquarium supply sellers. If we were in the middle of the state, shipping and shipping prices would be amazing, but we're not. And so that is something to know. If you're on the West Coast, you're going to get your stuff just faster than someone who lives on the East Coast. If you're in Florida, you're as far as we can possibly get in that system. So I guess my ask would be have a little bit of leeway if it's got to go from Washington to Florida, it's a long trek. and the systems are bloated at the moment. If you're in Oregon, you're right down below and it's taking a long time, outrage. Why? But if you're somewhere in the middle, it's usually pretty quick, and we have analytics and everything. We're tracking every shipment that ever goes out. We see on average how long does it take to what state and all of that, and we're doing what we can to improve it, and we're looking, and all that gets fed back into our algorithm that will further choose heat packs and liners and optimize. We're always optimizing for the best possible journey, even just for dry goods. And right now, I'm proud. I'm proud to say this, by the way. Our current metric in the warehouse, on average, so the 15,000 orders a month, from the time the order is placed till we have printed a label and have got it all assembled and it's waiting to be picked up by USPS, is 12 hours. So if you work in this space, you know that is amazing, right? Because how often have you ordered from a place? I ordered a thing from a fish place, actually, something we didn't sell, and they didn't ship it for 4 days. Like, they didn't put it in the mail for 4 days. Ours is average 12 hours. So we take out everything we can so that when there is that lag time, because as far as I'm concerned, the minute you click order, the clock starts, right? The clock starts on your brain going, this is taking forever or not. So if we shorten that window to get it in that system as fast as possible, you're less likely to go, oh, that actually came pretty quick. And that's why people are shocked when they're like, I ordered on a Saturday, it was here on Monday morning. Like, our goal, and you should know this, like, our cutoff times is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. If you order at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, it's like a 99% chance it will ship today and be on its journey by tomorrow already. Like, it's going to be in the mail today. Like, we do everything we can. And by the way, 12 hours, we're not stopping there. Like, we're also working on implementing things to speed that up, because a couple hours faster is a couple hours faster. It's anything we can do to make it better for you guys. And us too. It's good to not have work sitting there going, oh geez, when are we going to get those done? What's the best light for red plants? Visually, it'll be red lights. So red lights make plants look more red, which visually looks great to us. Otherwise, just strong lights will grow them really well and allow them to take in more nutrients, which will make them more red to purpley color. But to get the best visual representation would be something with red in it. All right. I'm going to start trying to jam through these super chats. Let me scroll up to, I'm sure I've missed some. Oh, jeepers. I'm already in the doghouse. Can I put banana plants into one of your easy planters, or will it cause the bananas to rot? Like planting them too deep in a substrate. Yeah, if you put them too deep in substrate, even in the planter, they would rot. Otherwise, keep them on top. But they'll grow the roots down, and they could work. And you could also only put like that much substrate, and you wouldn't see the bananas if that's the goal you're trying to do. Besides a wool mop, what else could you put on the bottom of a killifish tank for breeding? I actually like to use acrylic yarn to do that. But you could use like Easter grass, like those Easter baskets and that kind of stuff, but it's not as easy to harvest if you're going to remove them to hatch them out. This is like the lightning round. In my experience, how well do the really intricate scapes do in the long run? Seems like a lot of aquascape YouTubers end up tearing them down after a month or so. Yes, most things are set up kind of to take that picture, get that video. I don't like to do high-end aquascaping because it's very labor intensive. I can keep 20 tanks for one well-manicured tank. And I don't like having to feel bad about something. Like, oh, algae's growing? Oh, I'm a disappointment, right? So I kind of like more of a natural jungle-style tank. And there are people that will maintain absolutely beautiful aquariums. Like Israel is a good example. That on average, people had 1 to 2 tanks. They were very well maintained. Whereas on average, I have like 50 plus tanks. Not nearly as well maintained because I like to have a variety as opposed to highly specialized. So it depends on what you're into. I've met some people that will keep 5 or 6 tanks. They look absolutely amazing. Then life hits them and they all look like garbage. And they end up quitting the hobby because they couldn't obtain that high standard. Even though they enjoyed it, the work to get back, like once you fell off the wagon, it was so hard to get back that they would rather leave than claw their way back. So I don't like that part. Okie dokie. In my experience, is a bare bottom tank worth it? Does it improve the water quality enough to justify it? Oh no, it does not. I actually believe that a little bit of mulm and that kind of stuff is helpful to the entire system. I think visually will it look cleaner? Yes. Water quality wise, gunk on the bottom and water quality almost have nothing in common. You could have a layer of mulm this thick and auto water change all day long and have nothing detectable in the water. Not that you would want to have that look, but that is something that it's a visual thing. So I actually like seeing, I actually think water stays clear with substrate and that kind of stuff. So I would say, do what you want to do, but I'm not too into it. All right. Are you guys still planning on bringing root tabs to Amazon for Canadians to buy? Yes. The problem is because we can't even send Easy Green in large quantities, they're accepting no new products. So we've designed the packaging and all of that. We're just waiting to be allowed to, which is a weird spot to be in. All right. Plant suggestions for African cichlids and sand substrate. I would choose Vallisneria. I would choose Anubias and Java ferns to go on kind of rocks and wood. Bulbitis, African bulbitis if you can get some. Floating plants sometimes can do really well, like water lettuce. Sometimes you get a lot of luck with pothos growing out of the top of the tank, roots going down inside of it. And there are more, like Acrinum does pretty well usually, but there's also some that just get murdered by African cichlids. So that's enough to kind of get started, I would say. And trying more depends. It really does depend on, well, which Africans are we talking about here? I got my pink flamingo crypts today. I bought 3, and they were beautiful, and they have awesome roots. Yes, I will say that was a perk. My intention was to give a heads up to the members when we got pink flamingo crypts in stock. And we got 140 of them, and 140 of them sold in like 2 hours. So there were, people also that weren't members noticed they were on the website and bought them also. But it's a hard plant to get, and my intention was like, well, let's give them a heads up, and then they'll buy some, and then the other people buy the rest. It's like, oh, I didn't realize all the members were going to gobble most of them up. But yeah, that is kind of one extra perk. If we've been out of something for a long, long time, and I know we don't quite have enough, I'll go, hey, here's a heads up, and then yeah. I didn't get a new member shout out. Uh-oh, Billy Joe. Can we talk about majestic Hillstream how majestic Hillstream loaches are? Yes, I've bred them in this tank. I do want to get some more going. I actually want to breed some more. I'm actually considering maybe doing some river style tanks at the new setup. Mostly like in 6 months or later. Like I need some time to kind of conceptualize and figure out how I want to do it. But they're cool little alien face suckers that eat algae. I mean, what more do you need? Bika63, give me $10 for learning so much. Well, thank you very much. This is a continuation from Whip's World. He had the plants that weren't doing so well in the 15-inch betta cube. He says, no, this is on me. Your plants arrived in great shape. I went with plants because my nitrates were high, but I'm new and struggling. I got a Fluol 3.0. Okay. So we got a little more information. We can dwell on it a little bit more. A Fluval 3.0, it's a very strong light. Especially on a 15-inch deep tank, it's going to be a lot of light. So what can happen is you got a lot of light, right? And then think of nitrates like protein, right? And this light, really intense. It means I'm working out all the time. Like, oh yeah, I'm eating protein. Got all the protein. There's stacks of chicken, right? I'm just going to get so strong. I'm going to grow. But the problem is there's unlimited chicken, but there's nothing else. There's no other vitamins. That can happen real easy in a planet tank. So you got high nitrates, high protein, but all the other building blocks you need to really kind of have a healthy body and build that muscle and all that is missing. And so you're going to go, I'm working out. I work out 10 hours a day. I'm hitting the gym. Somehow I'm losing weight. Somehow and not in a good way. You might be losing muscle mass and all of that. You're like, I'm eating chicken like it's going out of style, but you're missing so much other stuff that your body is actually hurting. That can happen too. You got that real strong light. You got plenty of protein, but you're missing some of the smaller elements. And the way plants grow, it needs one of everything. So it needs, I need some nitrates. I need some potassium. I need some phosphates. I need some boron. I need some magnesium. I need some calcium, right? And if you just have tons of chicken and you're out of everything else, they stop eating. You know, I got 20 pounds of chicken, but I got nothing to put on it and it's super dry. You just stop eating it, right? And that's where algae will usually take off quite a bit as well. So yeah, I think if we get, you know, and not knowing the scenario there, it could be like, well, I got a perfect balance of nutrients. I'm like, well, you're a little bit heavy with 75 parts per million of easy green if that was the derivative of the nitrates. But I think we can do a little bit of tweaking and massage in there to get it where these plants will hopefully thrive for you. Because it's kind of one of those, once you got that green thumb, it doesn't go away. You're like, I get it now. Okay. And it's kind of like staying in the groove with working out. If you work out and you stay working out, you're doing pretty good. And then when you stop working out, you kind of forget, like, oh yeah, I got to get up. Oh yeah, I got to eat right. I got to do this. Yeah. Own personal experience there. Got to stay on it. Greetings from Malta. Where is Malta? I don't know where Malta is. But you want some advice on setting up an 80-gallon cylinder tank with a sump. And it's 65 cms wide, which that's going to be what, like 30-ish inches, and 74 cm tall. Huh. What would I do? I would do, so the best cylinder tanks I happen to see, usually they run a Pontigitans, Boviniana, or Olvacia, so they get big and tall to the top. They got these curly leaves, and then get things that like to perch, walking tetras, different gobies, and they'll just kind of sit on all the levels of the tank, and it looks super cool. You can get a school of fish going around the outside of it too. You can get some corridors in the bottom, but fish that like to perch look really cool when you just plant the center of it and fish go around the outside. All these cool fish perched in it. Looks cool. I would do that. Got Val in the mail. Got Val, and with the slow mail that came in completely melted, decided I would still plant the roots with the root tabs. They came back and they look good. Yes, at least half the time or more, plants that lose their leaves, as long as the roots are good, they'll come back vibrant. And when you think about it, what do we do when we're going into winter with outdoor plants? We cut them back. We cut the foliage off. We cut them down to the roots so that when it's time to grow, they put it all into new growth, right? No longer do they spend their nutrients sustaining the stuff that's going to die. They just store basically nutrients in the roots and the tuber and that kind of stuff. And that's why so often when we buy something and the roots are still good, we will get that good growth still, because nature does that. Nature's amazing. Plants are amazing. From Jeff Rose, wondering, do you still have a turtle habitat behind the 800-gallon running together? Yes, I do. I still have the mini musk turtles. They are in the 125. I will fully admit I feel guilty. I've been meaning to, hot rod their aquarium, and I haven't, because every month is like, well, next month I'm moving them to the new studio, and I really want to do it up there. And everything just keeps getting pushed back. Like, I still have leaky skylights. The skylights are sitting outside of the building. Apparently, I cannot get anyone to come and install them. So it's stuff like that where it's like, I don't want to put more and more stuff into a leaky building, but at the same time, like, I just want to play with fish. I just want to play with fish and turtles. My betta died. He was pine coning, had a bacterial infection where his fins looked like strips of cotton. What do you do with the plants and the tanks and the snails? I would just leave them. Without a host, most things die off in a couple of weeks. There are some illnesses that can take a very long time. You could run some meds through there. What's nice is you could run meds heavier than when you have fish. You might put some Icex in there and some Maricin and let that just kind of sit and marinate for maybe even a couple of weeks. Do a decent water change, and it's likely when you brought fish back into the system, there'd be no remnants of what was going on before. I'm not a big fan of the total redo. I like to kind of deal with it and move on. I've got 2 discus pairs and a 75 laying eggs. Oof. At first, they eat them, but now they leave them for a few days and they turn white before eating them. Are they infertile? They could be infernal, or they're getting distracted by the other pair, and so the male doesn't have enough time. He's kind of doing one of these, like, are they going to attack me? I need to fertilize, right? And Dean, you know, he's been talking about this. He's got the same thing going on in his 75 with a couple of pairs. And he says, I'm just never going to have the success until I get the pair in their own one, and they can focus on being good parents and not constantly making sure that they're not going to be attacked. So I would try that tactic myself, is like make sure they have their own space. Maybe you got to put in a divider they can't see through, or whatever you're going to do. That would be my next thing, and see if they don't improve that fertility rate. All right, Emily's giving us $10, just saying we're awesome. Me and the team. I thank you, Emily. You know anything about breeding guppies for profit in the UK? If I do a 10% water change daily, where'd that go? Oh yeah, in a bare bottom, do I still need to vacuum the debris? No, typically you don't have to vacuum debris if you're changing the water, as long as water quality is good. Basically, like poop, think about this. It sits there and it'll slowly dissolve into the water. At a certain point, there's nothing really left to dissolve, so it doesn't really do a whole lot. But if you're changing the water all the time, whatever the poop is doing doesn't really matter. Breeding guppies for profit in the UK, I'm not super well versed in it. I would say that in general, breeding for profit kind of works the same all around the world for the most part, same principles. But, you know, with Brexit and all that, I'm not exactly sure how your shipping is going to work. But being that you can ship probably to Europe, you're probably doing okay. What is hard to conceptualize for a lot of people is all of the UK is smaller than Washington State. So it sounds like I'm going to sell this whole country, and that's a true thing. But could I easily breed way more guppies than Washington State can consume? Yes. And so it's easy to flood out, but you can, you know, kind of spread out to the rest of Europe, assuming shipping didn't get crazy with Brexit and all of that. That would be my game plan. How do I disperse? Because a lot of Europe, you can ship around Europe, and it's about 15 euros, and it's overnight shipping. To put that in perspective here, that's basically like $20 US would be overnight shipping. But imagine anywhere in the US, overnight shipping, we would only ship overnight shipping. There's tons of packages I ship that are way more than $20. Like a light. Shipping a light from here to Florida is like $30, and it takes 4 to 5 days if it gets caught up, because it's an odd size package, right? So you got that to your advantage. I would figure out probably that. That being said, you might have a great local outlet. I don't know the whole scene there, but that's how I would approach it. All right. I received an extra pink flamingo in my box today that I didn't pay for. Was trying to figure out how to pay for it. Ooh, well, that super chat will do it. If you could do me a favor, Brian. We track everything that is not supposed to happen. So if you can email us, or if Candy can write down your name, we'll look into it. And the reason why we do this, did somehow someone get shorted one? Did we look at it and go, that's not quite big enough, let's give this guy 2? We want to know everything that happens. And maybe the warehouse already knows, but we want to trace back everything, because our goal is to just get it right every time. And if we have to give, if we're giving out extra pink flamingos, like, ooh, is quality down a little bit? Do we need to talk to the vendor? But usually what will happen, well, I say usually, this is what happens. If we ever ship you anything and it's a mistake, the mistake is in your favor. You would never have to pay us, because you didn't ask us to send you an extra pink flamingo. We would never make you do that. Now, you donated the $25 here. I thank you very much for that. And, you're good at this point. But, we do, it is helpful when someone does go, hey, I know I asked you to ship that light again because it didn't arrive in 4 days or, 7 days, and it arrived. I'd like to pay for it now. We do appreciate that. But yeah, if we can get to the bottom of that, that'd be good. Will I be carrying the new Vibra Bites baby product? It's a smaller stick, if you will. I didn't know that existed. I have to Google it. Huh. This is also like one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry of like, when something new comes out and like I'm an influencer, you think like, oh, I sell a lot of Vibra Bites, like we buy an insane amount. You think we'd know. I don't even, well, I'm going to click on the website here. I think it is. Look at this. Let me see if I can share this with you guys. Go to the website here. There is a new one. Look at this right here. New sizes, extra large and baby. So I don't know. I got to get samples to know. I think just from conceptualizing, right? Baby sounds awesome, but if it's way too small, but it's like, all right, they're a pretty good size already for guppies. I guess I'm feeding. I had a bag sitting right here. Extra large, I am a little, like as food gets larger, you know, like, what am I trying to say? My view on food is, let's say I got a cheeseburger. Do I need that cheeseburger to be like this big? No, I just kind of need 2. I could feed more. At a certain point, like bigger cheeseburgers aren't better. If I want more cheeseburger, I eat another cheeseburger, right? But if I have a 2-year-old and there's this big cheeseburger and they're trying to take a bite and it's just like a tiny bite, there is something for like, oh, look, that burger's this big, right? So I do see value in going smaller sizes, bigger sizes. Most fish and humans and animals in general, like, you don't need to feed your dog 1 cup. You know, you could feed him like, oh, it's a 1 cup kibble. It's just 1 kibble and they just gnaw at it. Or you can feed them 1 cup of smaller kibbles, right? And it's easier for them to chew up. Kind of same thing here. It's like smaller is kind of better, but yeah, I'm adding that to my to-do list of like, oh, we got to get some samples in. I would say it is likely we will carry it. I don't know in what sizes yet. So what do I mean by that? I mean that yes, it'll be baby, but it will only be baby in this package, or, you know, we got to think about it a little more. I will say I'm not a big fan of their advertising here, right? So it'll flip day 1. Oh, look at the scared little discus. Oh, it's so day 60 looks amazing. I can do that with any fish, with any food. Like, all right, let me get a fish in from the wholesaler. Oh man, look how terrible this looks. 60 days later, it's gonna look amazing no matter what I fed it, because it's not stressed. It's been getting good food. Now, this does have color enhancers in it, and does it probably help a little bit? Yes, it does, right? But I also think, like, I still believe they completely sell this product wrong, and it's not how good of a color enhancer is it. It's how good is this for fish that would typically only eat frozen bloodworms and things like that. That's the selling point to it, and they focus on the color enhancing. Because it could do nothing for color. Like, we don't need to enhance the color on a pea puffer, but pea puffers, when they eat it, it's so helpful, right? Like that, I don't know. They seem out of touch with, like, we want people to buy it because it makes things brighter. Like, how about we just make them buy it because it's an awesome feed? Like, it feeds out really well. All right. Aquarium Co-op test strips coming soon? I hope so. We're working on it. That's all I can say is, like, yep, still working on it. Getting closer and closer by the day. Any tips on Shelldwellers like multis? Yeah, don't put anything on the bottom with them. Includes plecos. Give them lots of shells. If you're trying to raise fry, really put in fry food. The way they eat in the wild is tiny particles of food has to blow into the shell. The smallest babies don't come out of the shell, so most baby Shelldwellers starve to death. The ones you see outside the shell, they manage to cobble enough food, but you almost gotta like cloud the water, and it looks so gross. But that's what really makes a colony of them thrive. But yeah, keep everything off the bottom because they're gonna dig and be territorial. You can put some stuff up above, but pretty easy to play with. What is a Nerm? A Nerm dates back a few live streams ago. I don't know, well, probably more than a few, but I was trying to say a nerd and normal, and it came out as Nerm. And so it was kind of the premise of, like, I was trying to explain, like, being a closet nerd where you're like a normal person in real life. Meanwhile, you have 600 aquariums in your basement, you know, like, you don't let your coworkers know that you're that level of fish nerd, and you might just seem like a normal person out in the wild. And then, you know, you get online and you're just the nerdiest fish dude that's ever existed. That's kind of the definition of a Nerm. Mabuna cichlids, Texas Holy Rock, and no wood with plants. That would work, yes. Textile rock and Mabuna cichlids go hand in hand. Plants will easily root to them. It'll work. Should I use Easy Green with liquid CO2 or just stick with Easy Green? I'm using a Phoenix Planted Plus 18-inch deep tank with 4 inches of substrates and trying to grow Monte Carlo. My advice would be read our article on liquid CO2 or watch AquaPro's video on CO2, liquid CO2. Liquid CO2 is not a replacement for CO2. It's an algaecide, basically. So I would tell you, don't dose the liquid CO2. You could definitely get some injected CO2, and that's going to make your Monte Carlo take off for sure. But, you know, I go back and forth. I hate selling. Do I have it here? Yes. I hate selling this because, like, we have it in bold letters. Easy Carbon, algae inhibitor, like in red and bold, right? But people all over the internet, they're like, oh, I just need CO2. I'm going to put some in here. Don't got to buy the CO2 regulator. So easy. Why doesn't everyone do this? It is an algae inhibitor. It fights algae and all of that. And as a byproduct, yes. Is there some carbon chain molecules in there? Yes. Is there probably some little bit of benefit? Yes. Keyword is little bit. It's like saying, well, you know, technically eating a Reese's peanut butter cup helps you gain muscle. I mean, like, that's technically a true statement, but, you know, it's not the right product to be doing it. This is good at killing algae. And so being that it's good at killing algae, that's why we sell it. We don't sell it to replace CO2. That's the thing. And big bold red letters, algae inhibitor. So there you go. Digging the Monday night live stream. Thank you. Co-op's Easy Green and Easy Carbon. My 80-gallon planted aquarium is jamming. Red plants and dwarf baby tears going without CO2. Yes, you can grow basically any plant you can grow without CO2. Now, I realize internet just went off like, there's probably a few you can't. But I have seen carpets of dwarf baby tears, no problem. Without CO2 injection. Is it harder? Yes. Does things have to be more in balance? Yes. Do you have to try at it? Yes. Can it be done? Yes. That's the thing. It can be done. Anything can be done if you try hard enough. Looking to add fish to my to diversify my 40 breeder community tank, which has just guppies and platies currently. Any ideas? I would add 1 pearl gourami. I would add a group of 7 stir-by corydoras. And I would add a pair of epistogrammas. Take your pick. That's what I would do. Have I finally caught up? All right. Now I can get to the main chat. Thank you for everyone to bear with me. Hopefully you learned something with those questions. I've got a 40-gallon breeder tank with black water. My pH is 6.6. Can I keep and breed checkerboard cichlids? So that would be dichrosis. Yes, you have the water parameters to breed it. They are a finicky, awesome fish. And can it be done? Yes. Yeah. What do we got? Do I have anything extra cool? Let me see here. Nice. I'll see if I can... Hopefully this doesn't move, but technically that's a hoodie. We're working on it. We're working on it. That's... No, don't email us. We are at least 6+ months out. My goal is to have the best hoodie known to Nerm kind for next winter. Next winter. If it comes sooner, great. But next winter, not now, next winter. And it's gonna be good. And hopefully it's gonna be priced right. We're still sourcing samples of the material. All right. Do I think an Amazon pufferfish is a good beginner pufferfish? I really want an oddball fish, but I have never kept a pufferfish, and I'm not super experienced. I think the best beginner is a pea puffer. Amazon puffers are okay. They're not too difficult. Yeah. Lately I heard, I don't know where I was reading it or something, but that puffer fish people are freaking out that I'm feeding my Mabu puffers clams and other stuff. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I never knew that was wrong. And I'm sure there's a study of like, oh, don't you know this thing builds up over time? It's like, well, what if you do a variation of clams and mussels and oysters and shrimp and fiddler crabs and all this stuff? And I have lost one Mabu puffer. I've got 2 other puffers thriving. They could drop dead tomorrow, but maybe they last 10 more years or whatever. Like, I'm just, because we're in the spotlight, I guess we're being critiqued on how we keep our puffer, which I guess comes with the territory. But as far as I can tell, our puffers are thriving and doing really well. All right. My 3 black Kuhli loaches breed like crazy in my 29. I've counted 30 so far. Should I be worried? No. You should be opening up a Kuhli loach farm. I don't know what you got going on, but that's awesome. It's not the easiest fish to breed, and I think it'll be very easy to rehome them. Not easy to catch, but as far as I'm concerned, when you see that happen, your tank is very happy, things are going well, and I would say that's a blessing right there. What is a way I could talk my parents into letting me set up a second aquarium that is a 20-gallon? I already have a 30-gallon that has been taken over by guppies, and I want smarter fish. That's gonna be really hard. I would guess that the way you would have to do it is like bargain. And what I mean by that, like, oh, maybe if you get good grades, maybe if you do something extra around the house, prove a responsibility. Usually there's that kind of a trade available in the family dynamic. Not always, right? And they might be looking for, like, last time you got, a second turtle, it was a train wreck or whatever. But I would look at it from that of, like, what is it that I've got to trade? I'm willing to get rid of my 17th iguana so that I can get this. Or I'm willing to mow the lawn. And it might seem counterintuitive if you're, young. I'm assuming you're young, living with parents. It could be 50 for all I know, but we're just going to go on the basis of you're young because I think it applies to more people. Usually you have to work for things. And so, I have to go to work to afford to buy a new 20-gallon to play with it. You might have to do the same thing. You might have to go, hey, I'm willing to empty the dishwasher and I will work for it. And after 4 months, if I have emptied the dishwasher every week, can I then have permission and possibly a little bit of funds to help me set up my 20-gallon tank? I think if you approach it, there's going to be some middle ground there that will make sense for both of you. And once you do that, you've then set the groundwork for later, right? I want a 3rd tank. I'm willing to, and I'm responsible enough to, and when those things are in line, much more likely it's going to happen for you. All right. Corey the Co-op. It will be safe to add my extreme food containers, the little package that comes in some human food. I think they keep them fresh for longer. Will it work? You're talking about, I think I've got one that spilled open on the floor. Let me see. Yeah. One of these things. These silica gel packets. They absorb, well, that one's got stuff in it. Look at that. Gross. They absorb moisture, and then there are some that will absorb oxygen. As long as it's contained and not loose, which I guess since this one broke open, I can show you what's in there. There are these little crystals. Oh, come on. Can't really get them out. They're these little, don't focus on me, these little crystals. As long as they're not getting mixed in, should be okay. That being said, if you're continually opening and closing food in a fish room, could be humid, could be a lot of oxygen, and some, well, here we go. Here's another one, right? Like this thing is an oxygen absorber in this old-fashioned beef jerky from when I was camping. This thing's got oils on it. Let me show you. Focus. See that oil on this thing? Fish food's gonna do the same thing a lot of times. If it's a real oily one, so you gotta keep an eye out. But yeah, you could probably do that. If I was going to do this, which I don't, but if I was going to do it, and if I rewound 12 years when I was like, I'm a new hobbyist, how do I maximize? My fish gotta be the best. You buy those containers that you put the food in, and then you can like pump the top, and it'll suck out all the air, and then every time. And then, about 3 weeks after that, you're going to be way too lazy and give up on that system. But that is how I would accomplish that. Ooh. So the gar goes into the bar, and the bartender asks, "Why the long face?" And the horse loach says, "Giddy up." Doesn't say that part, but I do like fish jokes, and I do want to keep some horse face loaches. Getting ready to open my co-op box. Can't wait to see the pink flamingo. Thank you to the crew. Well, hopefully it's amazing. Let me clear up my other questions. What plants can I put with Mabunas? I have no wood. Oh, I see. You have no wood, no Texas Holy Rock, and no sand substrate. Wait. I have no wood, Texas Holy Rock, and sand substrate. I think you're saying you don't have any of those. If that is the case, lucky for you, we have built a product for just a thing. You would want, go to decorations here, the Aquarium Co-Op planter, whatever loads. Come on, load, seriously. Oh, this is the worst marketing. Maybe my live stream's slowing it down. I don't know what's going on. Seriously, load. People are hitting me up. I don't know why it won't load. But you need the Aquarium Co-op planter. It basically lets you put a potted plant in there, which could be an Anubias, could be a Java fern, could be Vallisneria. All of that will grow out in there, and you can put root tabs in it. Watch our video on it, in fact. Hopefully Candy or someone will link that. And that's how you can do a planted tank with bare bottom or just sand and nothing to attach to. You can use something like that. You can use rocks and stuff like that as well. Here we go. We could see how it just pops in there. This is an Anubias like we're talking about. It'll look like that in your aquarium. Very, a little bit of sand in here, but that's a lot of plants for something with just a thin layer of sand, right? Looks pretty decent. That's how I would tackle that. So hopefully that gets the answer you're hoping for. All right. Why is the tank behind me fishless? That's because I'm in the process of moving. We bought a new home, and also we're building a new studio out, and this tank needs to move. Any day would be a good day for me to drain the water and take out hundreds and hundreds of pounds of sand to prep it to move. I don't know what day I'm moving it yet, but that work has to get done regardless, and I'm just putting it off of going, I don't have time today. But, yeah. I love KG says, I'm an idiot. I have no wood. I have rock and sand. Yeah, then you can put the stuff on top of the rocks, glue it with super glue, zip tie it on with a zip tie. You could tie it on with string. There's quite a few ways you could do that. You've got plenty of options to go. Just get some Anubias, Java ferns, mostly those. Those will be great places to start. You don't even have to really do fertilizer. The forum's been slow the last 2 days as well. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the internet finally breaking the internet. It's bound to happen. Aquarium Co-op breaking the internet. How old are bristlenose plecos when they get to breeding age typically? Roughly 12 to 14 months in my experience. A little bit sooner, a little bit longer, but somewhere in there. All right, people are blowing me up, and it's one of the people doing work at the property. Oh, here we go. Looks like Wednesday for skylights is on. Great, I like it. Let me type them back. Awesome. Moving forward, less leaks. Always a good thing. I mean, I like water changes. I just don't like them coming in through the ceiling. You know what I'm saying? I live in a 130-year-old Victorian house, and I was wondering if a large tank would fall through the floor. Yes. I mean, I have no way to know, but chances are, unless someone's done some reinforcing, that's a lot of weight. I find one or two things happens. Either someone went in there and they really reinforce that place, or it's like it's a stale cracker and it's about just to snap. So I would definitely get under there, look, and be like, okay, oh yeah, it's bracing all over the place. Or like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't even be walking across right now. I'm gonna fall through. One of those two is probably the thing. If you get someone there, you reinforce a bunch, you're gonna be okay if they know what they're doing. But yeah, I like how this man's got a zip tie right next to him. Well, that's a Dean and I, we've been working at the studio, and we're always like, we need zip ties. He's like, zip ties are the aquarium person's duct tape. It's so true. You can get so much done with zip ties, and I always go, oh, my thing of zip ties is at my old fish room. Dang it. And I was like, do we need to go buy some now? No, we'll do it without. But we always want more. We always want more. Jimmy says, I'll notice sooner or later. I don't know what I'm going to notice. Something, I'm sure. Uh-oh. Yeah, my Jiffy Pop. Is Jimmy spilling the beans how I managed to burn popcorn? While camping, I burned popcorn. And I could go into a whole lecture on how I got burnt and how I was at a disadvantage, but that'll just sound like I'm trying to defend myself. I am a terrible cook. I burned the popcorn. Jimmy's an amazing cook. That's why he cooks when we go camping. Easy peasy. All right. I'm watching Dean and Randy banter back and forth here, distracting me. Yes, by the way, we have a new emoji for the members, and that's Dean's face. So, yes, don't forget to use it when warranted, of course. Wet shrimp can be in a 20 long with some albino corridors, some black skirt tetras, and some golden white clouds. For sure, ghost shrimp, a mono shrimp. You could probably get cherry shrimp going as well, but the other ones are like a surefire. Same with bamboo shrimp and African blue wood shrimp. All of those would really work, but the cherry shrimp you'll probably get going. But I would hate to go, hey, they just ate $12. Thanks, dude. So, realize that one's a little bit more. In Japan, do they change water in the mud ponds over the summer? I don't know that answer. I could ask. I'm friends with Zach at koi.com. My guess is the water would go green and it would just clean it, but they might. I don't know. I actually have never thought about that part. Could be. Velcro owns zip ties? No. Zip ties are way better. Velcro is useful. I'm not saying it's not. But zip ties are waterproof, buddy. Velcro in itself is waterproof. But the adhesive to usually attach the Velcro, not waterproof. So, what is the best detrivore to put into my New World cichlid tank? I've got an Oscar, a Jack Dempsey, a blood parrot, and 5 giant Danios. I was thinking about a crayfish. Would that work? Let me process. I don't know how big the tank is. That's what's missing from that question. I would tell you to put a Jurapari. Get yourself a Jurapari. It's going to look awesome. And it's going to sift through that sand and really churn it down into like nothing. Get a Jurapari. What's my opinion on using peroxide for green hair algae control? I'm doing manual removal because I'm pretty lazy. I don't like to dose the whole tank. What you could do is like let's say I wanted to clear up the algae right up here. I left the light on, by the way, and I didn't have any algae, so it stayed on for a few days. Or I didn't have any fertilizer, so it made algae. If I wanted to clean that algae up right there, I would drain the water down, take hydrogen peroxide, spray it across the back, let it sit for like 5 minutes, then fill it up. Now, algae peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide typically breaks down into like some chemicals that I am going to sound stupid even trying to remember, but basically it makes oxygen in the water. And if you're ever like really in a dire situation, you need oxygen in the water, you can use a little bit of hydrogen peroxide to get you there. I've never had an adverse reaction. That doesn't mean that you're not going to kill everything 10 minutes from now, but in general, I've found spraying the stuff, letting it sit for 5 minutes, and then either rinsing it or filling a tank back up has worked just fine for me. All of a sudden, my guppies are terrified of me. They're losing color, they're hiding, the parameters and the temperature are fine. What should I do? Get a second opinion. Take your water, explain your situation, ask someone who's knowledgeable at a fish store, and go, hey, what do you think could be going on? Maybe they got no ideas, right? But a second opinion can always help. Now, what do I think might be going on? Sometimes it's lighting. Like you put in a new light up above, it's lighter, the TV's on, you change something, right? Lighting makes a big difference. If I turn the lights on I'm using right now, it's way different, right? So the fish that would live in here, they're going to get a different environment. Like if these lights are on, I create shadows on the background and there's reflections. When these lights are off, that doesn't happen anymore, right? Now the point of source lighting is up top. So you see it coming down and the shadow is mostly down. If the shadow's coming forward, so all of that makes a difference in your aquarium. So it could be something as simple as that of like, I got the window shade open, I put in a new TV, I got a new light, I got a different color light, I got something else doing something. Or it could be your water parameters have gone wacky and your kit's not picking it up and it's a sign of stress. Could be a new bully in the tank. But start running through those options and eventually you're going to go, oh, yep, I did buy Snickers instead of Reese's this week. That would scare me too. Yep. I've fallen down the Serpa design rabbit hole. Is it true I can use expanding foam in my aquarium for rocks and wood? Yes, I believe most foams, especially at least the pond one, are water safe. That being said, do your research because I have not done it a ton. I have done it some. I have not done it a ton. Yes, but Tanner over at Serpa Design, that is one cool dude. He's very into nature, which is cool. Yeah, someday I want to, how do I say that? I would love to see his stuff in person. Maybe even work with him. I just think what he does is really cool because it's kind of one dude, one mission. He does his own stuff, getting it done, and he comes up with a lot of cool products. Some of them just like, boring, and the next one I'm like, whoa. Like, I haven't watched it yet, but he put out a video on Scud Biosphere. I just ordered some Scuds, not to do with Biosphere, but, you know, so I was like, ooh, maybe he's got some info I want to learn. Don't know yet. We've got a product idea for you. A rubber lid for Aquarium Co-Op measuring glass. Huh, I've cut a piece of plastic wrap. I see. I have to cut a piece of plastic wrap every time I thaw frozen food because it will last me a couple of days. I see. There's probably something like, I don't know, like a balloon or something that you could just reuse. But yes, I'll put that on the list of like, it's pretty low. Maybe someday I'll make a cover for it, but I feel like I would try to make something stretchy. You know, they have those stretchy type things to cover multiple things because I would want to be multi-purpose. Should I add a betta or should I get a betta or a pea puffer for my 5-gallon tank? I'd choose a pea puffer. Should do Dean's face stickers? Possibly. I did come up with, I want to make some kind of Dean merch, and my Dean merch idea is his face on a shirt that says DIY, but instead of like do it yourself, it's Dean it yourself. Because you can do it yourself. That's what I do. I do it yourself on a lot of stuff. But Dean it yourself. Not only will you have done it yourself, but it will be better than anything you've ever seen. Dean, when he DIYs something, not only is it he did it himself, but he's done it better than like the manufacturer or the professional would do it. I don't know how he has perfected that skill, but it is so irritating to work next to when I think it's just because he's done so many things in his life and, you know, he's been DIYing since he was like 2. And he's always, at worst, when you're trying to solve a project with Dean, he's like, hold on. All right, I got it all figured out. Like, it takes like 4 seconds before he's like done the mental gymnastics. He's like, yeah, we're going to need a half-chewed toothpick, 6 zip ties, and a whoopee cushion. And you're like, but we're trying to drill an aquarium. He's like, nope, just give me what I need. And somehow it'll work. The dude's out of control. Dean IY. That's where it's at. Who is Dean? Dean shows up on the channel. He is well, I met him through my fish store. He was a club member and he's been around the hobby for a long time and is knowledgeable and personable. So I like to hang out with the guy. He's got good knowledge, been a fish breeder for a very long time, bred most things, good on camera and explaining himself, which lends himself to what we do. And so now you know a little bit of the history of Dean. I've taken him and he's taken me to Peru. You know, he went first and then I was like, I want to go, but only if you go, Dean, so you can show me around. And then when I took him back and we're hoping to go again if we get the chance. I've tried to Deanify my fish room and failed miserably. Yeah, it's not an easy skill. I'm getting better at it. The more I hang out with Dean, the closer I get to being Dean-like. It's hard. It's a hard standard. Half the battle is going, wait, that's not Dean enough. Like, that looks good, but the fact that I can even see it means it hasn't been Deaned yet. Dean likes everything to be stealth, perfect. Yeah. Just because it's working doesn't mean it's good enough for Dean. What tricks do you have for pulling tannins out of the water column? I've set up a tank with a softer than normal wood choice. Purigen and water changes are all I can think of. Yeah, carbon will also do it. I've heard of some people being able to do it with a very fine floss. I've never tried that myself. Honestly, I do a lot of water changes. That's my move. Carbon will work. I'm not a fan of chemicals. I do as few as I can, and I would rather water change. Honestly, I would just swap the wood. I don't use a lot of real wood in my aquariums anyway because I don't like the tannins. I just ordered silver tip tetras from Aqua Huna. Can't wait to get them. Yes, time for another commercial. Time to pay some bills. When you guys order from Aqua Huna, if you use the Aquarium Co-Op discount code, saves you 5%, also gets us a kickback. And they have great shipping, $12.99 shipping, which for live fish is crazy good. And we buy our fish, not all of them, but we buy, I don't know what the percentage is, but a good percentage of our fish from Aqua Huna that stock our store. And I've basically strong-armed them into the Aquarium Co-Op model of just take care of the customer. Like, doesn't matter what the price is, long-term you will win. Just take care of the customer. You might take a beating on this one, but when they order again and everything goes right, you'll be back to making money. Like, take care of the customer. And I've told them expressly, if you don't treat them like we treat an Aquarium Co-Op customer, I cannot refer people to you. So, you know, if something goes way too sideways, let us know. Not that it's our responsibility, but if it was happening a lot, like there's always crazy scenarios. Like my grandma, you know, drove over him with the car. Like, okay, that's not necessarily like Aqua Huna's fault. And, you know, no one's going to get everything right always. But in general, they've been doing a great job from what we can see. And a lot of people have been happy with it. And people do need to be aware there is just inherent risk. Like, mail system's overwhelmed. And we're shipping live animals through the mail system. There's going to be some quirks. And, you know, he'll do what he can. He's a good guy. I'd buy a Dean shirt, mug, and a beanie. Really? Knowing Dean, though, he wouldn't do that. He would be like, I don't know what he would say. Like, no, I don't want a beanie. And he'd come up with like, what would Dean want? He'd be like, I want a Dean oven mitt or something. Like, it'd be something different. Like, dang it, Dean, why are you going to make this hard? But it'll probably be something like that because it'll be fun to try and source that. Aqua Huna is fantastic. I bought 20 Amano shrimp in the cave in basically one day. That's some teleportation right there. We're getting close to the end. Oof, uh-oh. My CO2 is turned off at night and restarting an hour and a half before the lights. Indicator takes half a day after restarting to get green. Do I need to add more CO2 to start earlier? Thanks for the Netherlands. Only if you're not getting the growth you desire. Most times, as long as the plant's growing. So here's the other thing. The thing you need to realize about CO2, right? 30 parts per million is considered the optimal range. It means you won't run out. Let's say you have a plant and it uses 1 ppm of CO2 per hour. Let's say you have 5 parts per million of CO2 in your water. And every hour it adds 2, right? So it's been on for an hour. Now you're up to 2. But you ate 1. So now it's down to 1. Now it's been another hour. You're up to 3. But you ate 1, right? So now you're down to 2. And then it's been another hour. You're up to 4. But you ate 1. Now you're down to 3. Well, it would take a long time to get to 30 parts per million. However, the plant never ran out of CO2. So reaching the 30 may never matter. That's why I'm asking, are you getting the plant growth you want? Because if you are, don't worry about that number at all. That's why I personally am not a huge user of CO2 indicators, because the plants are CO2 indicators. That thing's growing like gangbusters. I don't need something to tell me like it's getting enough CO2. It's real apparent. So I would watch the plants and tune if you think you need to tune. If I'd like to grow faster, this is actually dying. But in general, I think you're doing A-OK. All right. Dean kitchen apron. I like that. Ooh, what does Dean need? Dean needs a Dean turkey baster probably for feeding brine shrimp. What else could Dean have? Dean has a tool for everything. Every time I work with Dean, he's got a new tool that I didn't know existed. And it's not like that thing's a crazy thing. It's just like, this is the best version of vice grips I've ever seen. This is the best version of channel locks I've ever seen. He's like, oh yeah. Oh, I found that like 14 years ago. I'm like, dang it. Always the best. Aquarium buckets with Dean buttons. Wait, Aquarium Co-op bucket hat. I was just thinking a bucket was like what would the Dean buttons do? I don't even know what they would do yet. I use Easy Green religiously. Are trace elements necessarily in a heavily planted tank with Anubias and Bucephalandra? I feel like this is kind of a trick question. If I say no, then it's like, well, maybe. Optimally, you'd be getting some trace elements from your water, and then you'd be getting some trace elements from your fish foods. Now, I am working on a product long term that will hopefully fill in any gap that would be left, but I don't know when it's going to be out, and it's not a 9-1 because not everyone necessarily is going to need it, but I am working on, like, technically there are some scenarios. Usually you run into problems with trace elements with stem plant tanks because they consume it so fast. With Anubias and Bucephalandra, unlikely you would need that, but there are some tanks, especially in high-powered CO2 tanks, where you run into limitations on trace elements. Dean's my hero? Yes, Dean's my hero too. Dude's awesome. I ordered from Aqua Huna, needed to add to it. I called and realized I'm 2 hours ahead of them. Really surprised and pleased when they called me back shortly after they opened. Nice. Thoughts on adding isopods to a tank? Are there aquatic isopods? I gotta Google. Is that a thing? Yes. Well, I mean, I know there's like the ones in the sea, but I don't know enough to know about aquatic pill bugs. And I'll also add, how dare you, the rest of my night is going to be spent researching aquatic pill bugs. I know how to have a good time. Gonna read me some isopod research papers. I don't know the answer to that. Ooh, I like that. Dean's head turkey baster, where like, yeah, the bulb is his head. You're squeezing out the knowledge. Mm-hmm. My water has like no potassium. My job firm will not grow if I don't use a bottle of potassium every month. Turns black. Yeah, we have extra potassium in our Easy Green to help compensate for that. But if you had none, yeah, that definitely could be an issue. Yeah. Everyone's water is different, makes it a little hard. Do we deliver to the UK? Unfortunately, we do not. Unfortunately. I've got some pretty big crypts local. How much dieback after transplanting is cause for concern? I would say like none, as in no cause for concern. You can buy a crypt this big and it dies all the way back, and then it comes back. So if it all died, I wouldn't be concerned. I'd be like, yeah, it's going to take time. So I would say, don't worry. I think I saw Dean on the Murphy cam earlier today. Was he at the shop? He was. He was at the shop. He was dropping off fish. So I don't know what he brought. Maybe midnight rams, gold rams, probably some angels, maybe some plecos. But he was filming with Jimmy. And, I've created a new strategy for Aquarium Co-Op. And means more content. We're going to put out more content. So, got to film more stuff. Working on it. But that's why he was there. And I'll be with Dean tomorrow. We've got a tank with CO2, lots of stem plants and water lettuce, but it goes through nitrates really slowly. What could I be missing? I suppose you could be missing, well, so you could have an instance where you got a lot of water lettuce blocking the lower plants, so those plants can't grow as fast if they're not getting quite enough light at the top, or like, because water lettuce wants to expand, right? It could be limited there, but it sounds like you've got everything, but maybe light limited, but it could be limited by another nutrient. But basically what's happening is something is not in adequate supply and it's causing the slowdown. So I would tell you, play whack-a-mole until you go, oh, turns out it was this. That's kind of how I have to approach that one. Aren't isopods scuds? I don't think so. I mean, I'm looking at aquatic isopods, cave isopods, aquatic isopods with eggs. They're in, right here they're saying distribution in Missouri. I don't think they're the same as, well, wait, right here, scuds. No, scuds and side swimmers are amphipods, not isopods. Duh! I could have never recited that except I was reading this. I would have never known that. I'm more impressed that wait, hold on. It says similar species, amphipods, scuds, and side swimmers. So close. I'm lucky that I can describe an amphipod. I have to show you this logo because the Missouri Department of Conservation wins the award for craziest, weirdest logo thing. Do you see this thing up here? Hold on. Right up here? At first I thought it was like a badger, but I think it's like a raccoony with a triangle tail. I can't zoom in much, but, and then it built in like the fish into its back with like a plant growing out of it. It's kind of awesome. And I like it because it uses only like main colors, as in, you got blue, black, white, tan, and this gray and these greens. Like, it's not like there's no shading to it or anything. I don't know, weird. Anyway, all right. It is now the time that I must end because I have to research Vibra Bites, the new sizes, aquatic isopods, Dean merch, gotta have some dinner. I will be doing all of that while I listen to the Steenfod Aquatics live stream, who he goes on after myself. So if you want to head over there, what is the hashtag today? The hashtag is isopod. It's hard to spell, so you're gonna have to look in the chat to go, how do you spell isopod? Scuds are amphipods, and sow bugs are aquatic isopods, came from a common ancestor. Well, there you go. You learn something every day, and today it was aquatic isopods for me. I have no idea if they are predatory or not, or good food or not. I will know a little bit of something by next time. Don't know if it'll be useful, but that's how you get there. So head over there and hashtag isopods and see what he's got to say today. I know he's talking about, I think, breeding some fish, some easy fish, something like that. Project Dawson's begging for me to read his comment. Well, there you go, Project Dawson. I'm going to end it for now. Make sure I got all my super chats. I got a hello from Canada. Well, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully I'll be on next Monday. Working on the fish room all day tomorrow. Gonna get it closer. Closer and better. That's what we strive for. 18 new members. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, shame on you. Shame. Hit that button.